Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webcast, Differentiating Your Product Offer in Today's Experience Economy. We're thrilled to have you all on the call for today's discussion, and we hope you find it useful. My name is John Evans. I'm Director of Product Marketing at Akeneo, and I'm honored to have our special guest, Joe Pine from Strategic Horizons. Joe's co-author of the groundbreaking book, The Experience Economy, Competing for Customer Time, Attention, and Money. And Joe brings great insight and expertise into today's topic, so we're really excited to have him here with us. I'm sure everybody on the call today has already listened to a webcast before, so you all know what to do. Just sit back and listen and ask us questions in the question window at any time, and we'll try to answer as many as possible at the end of the event today. And we're also recording the event, so you'll be able to go back and refer to it at any time. So our subject today is about differentiating your product offer in today's experience economy. And it seems like everywhere you look, people are talking about experiences. So we're fortunate that we have Joe here to shed some light on this phenomenon. And we're going to be talking about how product experience plays a role. And after Joe's done with his remarks, I'll bring some practical recommendations to how a product experience management solution can support you. So with that, let me turn it over to Joe to get us started.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate being here with you today. It is talking about going from product to experience, and I like to talk by talking about a particular example of that, where you can see what's going on, and that's looking at coffee, because coffee, exemplifies exactly what's going on in the world. If you look at the 4 different levels of value that you can get from coffee, if you treat it as a commodity, right? If you're a coffee farmer that is growing coffee and extracting it out of the ground and selling it on the open marketplace, it turns out that you get only 2 or 3 cents per cup of coffee. That's what the beans are worth in a cup of coffee. But if you take those beans and you grind them, roast them, package them, put on a grocery store shelf, you can get 5, 10, 15 cents per cup of coffee. If you perform the service of actually brewing them for a customer in a kiosk, a vending machine, a corner diner, bodega, 7-Eleven somewhere, now you can get 50 cents, dollar, dollar and a half, maybe 2 per cup of coffee. But if you surround the brewing of that coffee with the ambiance and theater of a Starbucks, and now how much you paying, right? $3, $4, $5. And it's all because Starbucks recognizes that it's in the experience business, that it's in every industry has these 4 distinct levels of value, where you can be in a commodity, a good, a service, or an experience. So you can think about it this way. What business are you in? Because we've gone from an agrarian economy based off commodities through an industrial economy based off goods through a service economy. And today we're in an experience economy, an economy where experiences are what consumers want today, and even business people, that they value experiences over goods and services. And therefore, what we need to do is we really need to innovate in experiences. It's not that innovation in goods and services will ever go away. All of these are built on top of each other. They're basically a stack, if you think it in technology terms, that experiences are on top of services, services on top of goods, and at the middle of it, they're the raw materials of commodities. But we need to think about innovation in experiences more and more. Think, for example, about Nestle's brand Nespresso, as they recognized that Starbucks was increasingly controlling coffee consumption around the world. So what did they do? Is they innovated. They innovated this capsule system, where you can brew your own individual cup of coffee just for you in your own home, just like you get that custom coffee for you at a Starbucks. And you can see the tagline there: the best cafe, yours. Right? The implication being yours in your own home versus going outside to a Starbucks. And then they innovated the Nespresso machine. The Nespresso machine is a physical good, right? So it's not in itself an experience, but they design the good so that just using the Nespresso machine to make that individual cup of coffee for you is an experience. But they didn't stop there. They innovated their own experience places, the Nespresso boutiques, places where you can come in and learn about the capsule system, see all the different varieties, learn about the Nespresso machines, and then actually experience it, where they'll make you a cup of coffee on the Nespresso machine. Using the basic principle of today's experience economy, that if you get your customers to experience your product before they buy it, the chances they will buy it, in fact, go up. And what happens because of this shift into the experience economy is that goods and services become commoditized, right? Commoditized, where they're treated like a commodity, where people don't care about the brands and they don't care about the features or benefits. They come to care about three things and three things only, and that's price, price, and price, right? That's when goods and services have been commoditized. So you need to shift up this progression of economic value again to go beyond the goods and services to staging experiences for your customers. Now, it's hard to talk about the experience economy without talking about these guys, right? The Walt Disney World, Walt Disney Company is the premier experience stager in the world. Now, when you go to one of their theme parks and pay an admission fee to get in, you are buying goods. You have as memorabilia of the experience, Mickey Mouse watches, Mickey Mouse hats, and so forth. And now increasingly Star Wars. I was there earlier this month actually at Disney World in Florida, and came back with a couple of droids as part of my experience as the memorabilia, right? But while there also you're paying for services, you're paying for parking services, you're paying for food services, you're paying for photographic services. But why do people go? Why do they pay an admission fee for that experience? It's because of the shared family experience they have with memories that last not just for days and weeks, but for months and for years afterward. And I submit that you see the same thing going on in the B2B world, that business to business companies, that you should also stage experiences for your customers, because people, whether well, business people are people, right? That they would rather spend their time in experiences, than in boring meetings. One place where you probably see that first of all is at trade shows. This is the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas that just happened a week ago. And if you think about any sort of trade show, it's basically the business to business equivalent of going to Disney World. I mean, think about it. You're paying an admission fee to go into this huge area with all these different attractions. They're trying to get you to come spend time with them, and that they hope that you buy their goods as a result as well. So whether in consumer or business to business world, you need to shift up to staging experiences. Another example of that is Tarkett, a French designer of flooring and wall coverings. Right? They've created ateliers in Paris and in New York, and they have in their co-creation workspaces for architects, for interior designers, and other B2B clients. Right? And they exist to inspire creativity and collaboration among these designers. And they want to encourage them to host their own events and presentations at the ateliers. Right? So they're basically these experience places that they have created. Right, Tarkett wants to be a B2B design destination. So the basic summary of what services and our experiences are about is, think of it this way, is that services are about time well saved. That people want goods and services to be commoditized. They want to buy them at the lowest possible price and the greatest possible convenience, so they can spend their hard-earned money and their hard-earned time on the experiences that they value. And those experiences provide time well spent. Right? That's what people value, is they value the time that they spend with you. And so what you need to do is you need to engage them over that time. That's what an experience is about. It's about engaging customers to spend time with you and then get them to value the time that they spent. When you're in the experience business, it's about time well spent. Now, in our book, The Experience Economy, we've defined these 5 design principles. You can see they spell out the word theme to make them easy to memorize. I'm not going to go into a lot of details here, but I just want to make the point that every great experience, whether it's a physical experience, whether it's a game, whether it's a website journey, whatever it is, it needs to have a theme. The theme doesn't have to be fantasy like Disney World. It doesn't have to be in your face like a theme restaurant. But it's simply the organizing principle for the experience. It's how you decide what's in the experience versus what's out. Because if you don't have a theme, if you don't have an organizing principle, then anything goes, and you sort of end up with everything but the kitchen sink. Then secondly, once you have that theme, you need to harmonize impressions, the impressions you want your customers to have of your experience, and harmonize them with the positive cues, with the physical things or the virtual things, the design elements that you put into your experience. And then you eliminate negative cues. You get rid of all of the things that detract from the experience, that don't fit in with it, that don't fit in with the theme in particular, right? Because that will then yield a cohesive experience where you accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative and create impressions that fulfill the theme. Then you need to mix in memorabilia. Again, in physical places, memorabilia are the physical things that we take back from an experience. And as human beings, we always want physical reminders of what that experience is. But of course, what's increasingly happened is the rise of social media. And so we need to mix in media as well, right? But not just in the physical world, but on our virtual world, is how do we get people to want to share items and take photographs and so forth. There are many places today that are designed specifically for Instagrammability, right? That's a new term, Instagrammability. Places like the Museum of Ice Cream or Meow Wolf or the Rose Mansion, places where people go to take pictures to be able to share them on social media. And then finally is engage all five senses, right? We take experiences in through our senses, and the more of those senses, the more particular we engage each sense, then the greater that experience is going to be. Of course, when you're talking about online on websites, you can't easily engage all five senses. Technologically, in fact, is possible. There are ways to do it, right? But mostly we're working with audio and we're working with visual, but we need to evoke the senses. We need to think about how do we design our websites so that we are able to get people to actually feel what's going on, to experience the motion of actually being with the products that we have or the places that we have. You know, for example, a German lighting manufacturer, SLV, has created a visitor center in its headquarters near Cologne, Germany, for both consumer and B2B customers. To, as it says here in German, experience light. Right, the physical place is all about experiencing light. That's the theme of their visitor center. But SLV also then uses professional photography to show off its lights in the best possible light, if you pardon the expression. Not only in its physical place, but on its website as well, right? To evoke the senses, right? You feel like you are there physically because of the way it's lighted, of course, and then, of course, of the way it has been photographed and then presented to you. Right, that it really is about the product experience, not just about product information. Now, another principle of the experience economy is that work is theater. And it's not a metaphor. I don't mean work as theater. I literally mean work is theater. That whenever workers are in front of guests, the audience of the experience, they're on stage. Whether they know or not, whether they do it well enough, they're on stage, need to engage the audience. And that's true in a physical environment. It's true in a chat room. It's true on the phone in a contact center. It's true over email. Any way you interact with customers, you need to understand that you're on stage. My favorite example of that is this company here that was founded by a friend of mine, Robert Stevens, here in Minnesota. And he dropped out of the University of Minnesota way back when to get into the computer installation and repair business. And Robert decided, well, who better do that than geeks? So he named his company the Geek Squad. And Robert says he does an interview prospective employees. He auditions them. He wants to typecast them as geeks. Doesn't want any fake geeks there. And then he costumes them like you see here in thin black ties with pocket protectors and white shirts. The ties are actually clip-on just in case there's an altercation, Robert says. The black pants and shoes with white socks that really make that uniform pop. You know, they drive around in their geek mobiles with the black and white Beatles with the Geek Squad logo emblazoned on the side. And when they get to your home or to your offices, the first thing they do is they pull out their badge, say, "Hi, I'm from the Geek Squad." You'll slowly step away from that computer, man, and they go about giving you a computer repair experience. Robert says that he wants the computer repair experience to be so engaging that his customers can't wait till the computers break down. And of course, you know the rest of the story. It was actually bought a number of years ago by Best Buy. And they went from a little over 15, 20 agents here in Minnesota to now there's over 20,000 Geek Squad agents around the world because of that amazing experience that they provide. And they extend that not just physically in the Best Buy stores, not just in your home and your offices when double agents come and visit you, but how they interact over the web, over the phone, and so forth. It's all about the theater. Now, you think about designing websites or any online experience, I highly recommend this book by Brenda Laurel called Computers as Theater. Right? It's a wonderful book, and in there, the basic point she makes is that think of the computer not as a tool, but as a medium, right? Like TV is a medium, sports arenas are mediums. It is a medium of experience. And she says, thinking about interfaces, right, that we have a user interface, is thinking too small. Designing human computer experiences isn't about building a better desktop. It's about creating imaginary worlds that have a special relationship to reality, worlds in which we can extend, amplify, and enrich our own capacities to think, feel, and act. And you may think, well, that only applies to like games like Fortnite or online worlds like EVE Online and so forth. But no, it applies to any website that you create. You are creating a world that people are entering for the time that they are there. And you want to enrich their capacities to think, feel, and to act, such as in buying the products that you have on that website. And the best way to do that is to understand that work is theater, that the website is theater, that you need to have drama as part of it. And the basic way to think about theater, again, if you look at all these distinctions between services and below and experiences, is a distinction between what and how. That services are about the what you do, the functional things you have to do. Now, a Geek Squad wouldn't be the Geek Squad if it didn't do the functional things of showing up to an appointment on time, of installing your computer, of fixing your computer, of updating it, of connecting it to hardware, and so on and so forth, right? Repairing it, all the things that they have to do. But how they go about doing it, right? That's what can turn any mundane interaction into an engaging experience. And that, again, is the same online, is that you need to think about not just what product information you display, but how you display that in a way that embraces theater. Now, Brenda quotes Don Norman. Don is the coiner of the term user experience, right? He's the user experience, a UX guru out there. And he observes here, as Brenda says, the drama has always considered the multiple dimensions of experience, including one almost completely absent from the vocabulary of product and system designers and from computer design. Time, right? Time, the design of what passes within a particular period of dramatic time creates the emotional textures that keep us engaged. Remember, experiences are about time well spent. What you're doing is that you're designing time. You're not designing information on a website. You're designing the time that your customers spend with the information that you have, right? That's what turns it into an experience. And here's a simple way of thinking about it. I call it the 5E model of dramatic experiences. That how do you entice people to want to visit your website or come to your store or interact with you in any way? Right? What are the things that you do there that entice them to come before they ever visit? And then what happens? What's the first thing that happens when they enter? Again, whether it's a website or a physical place. What's the entering experience as part of it, the phase of it? And then you engage them, right? This is why they came, is the engaging experience, what actually happens there. And that's where you really have to design the time. I mean, you're designing time of these 5 phases, but of course, where it's most important is in that engaging phase. This is why they're coming. This is what you have to excel at. But don't forget about exiting. What happens stage with Daniel Kahneman, the Dr. Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize, and he talks a lot about experiences, has done a lot of work on experiences, and he talks about the peak end rule. And the peak end rule is where to spend the most time is on the peak, the engaging part, but also don't forget the end, because that's often what people remember most, is the last thing that happens. But then you need to think about extending the experience as well, as what happens after you leave, and how do you engage them in that way. Now, one of the things that with many websites is that they're really horrible at entering and often exiting and extending as well. You know, even if you have a great engaging experience, even if you entice people to get there, right? Often when you enter a website, the first thing that happens is it pops up a self-advertisement, interrupting the engaging experiences people came there for. And that's what all ads do, is they interrupt what people actually want to do, the experience they actually want to have. right? And then on exiting, you often send them off with another pop-up for daring to move the cursor to exit to another window, right? You've all experienced that as consumers, whether it's on your own website or not, right? And that's a horrible exiting experience. And then extending, right? You can extend with email, and you can extend with the actual product that you're sending to consumers, right? If you're sending them one in the mail, then think about the what's called UBI, right? The out of box experience, like Apple excels at. But many companies do not spend enough time there. But that's extending the experience and getting people to want to come back. The way not to extend the experience is with ads that creepily follow you around the web, right? That's not the way to do it. It's a horrible extending. I've never bought anything because of one of those, and I refuse to if somebody starts following me like that. So all of those are important. Think about how you design the time of your website. And you think about Pinterest, right? Pinterest has really changed how consumers, as well as many other websites, but they've changed how consumers think about and interact with product information on the web. They now expect the pictures to be gorgeous and the copy to be engaging. It's crucial to go beyond mere product information to design for the product experience, or you're not going to meet their expectation. For today's experience economy, we really compete against the world for the time, attention, and money of individual customers. Right? Time, attention, money. Those are the currencies of today's experience economy. And time is limited. We've only got 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in order to be able to experience things. And we got to fit sleep in there sometime. But if somebody does capture my time and I'm spending my time with them because of an experience they have created, what am I not doing? Is I'm not spending that time with you. And the same way as in today's media fragmented world, attention is increasingly scarce. If somebody does capture my attention, though, because of some great experience where I'm spending my time in, then what am I not doing with that attention? I'm not giving it to you. And money is consumable. If I've got $1 or €1 to spend and I spend it with some other company in some other industry in some other geographic area, what can't I do with that dollar again? I can't spend it with you, right? It's consumed, it's gone. So you need to understand another basic principle of the experience economy is that the experience is the marketing. Right, the experience is the marketing. That the best way to generate demand for any offering is with an experience so engaging the customers can't help but spend their time with you, give you their attention, and buy your product as a result. Right, that's the success of the Apple stores. Apple stores are wonderful, engaging places. Why? Because you can experience their products inside of them. They design the time of not just the environment of the places, not just the physical things there. They design the time that you spend there. And Apple is, in fact, the #1 retailer in the world, even though they were never in retail until a little over 15 years ago. And but of course, it's predicated on great products. If Apple didn't have great products, then the retail experience wouldn't matter that much. But when you combine a great experience, whether it's physically or whether it's virtually on the web, when you combine a great experience with great products, well, that's when magic can happen. I'll mention Made.com too is an online purveyor of home furnishing in the United Kingdom, but it branched out into the physical world, right? Going from online into the physical world with 3 showrooms in England, including this flagship showroom here in Soho, London. And here consumers can come in to physically see and experience many of the furniture and homeware products that they can get produced via the Made.com website. Right? They're not shops, but they're what they call brand experiences and include spaces for workshops with creators and designers. And so turning that into an experience. And then Case Construction is my favorite B2B example in the world of embracing the experience is the marketing, because they created in the Northwoods of Wisconsin this Case Construction Tomahawk Case experience. The Tomahawk experience is where potential B2B customers come up there to literally play with the equipment. It's basically a giant sandbox. They do rodeos and contests about who can move the most amount of dirt in the shortest amount of time. And they did a study and found that when people go up to a dealer, their potential customers go up to a dealer, they have perhaps a 20% chance to get in the business. When it goes up to Tomahawk, it goes up to 80%, from 20% to 80%, because the experience is the marketing. And Starbucks recognized that their place is the experience that markets, that generates demand for all of their coffee products. But in fact, I actually don't like coffee. I hate coffee. I drink tea, and I love Starbucks chai. This is my standard order at Starbucks: a venti, non-fat, 6 pump, no water chai, extra hot. And every one of those things is how Starbucks customizes that order for me, right? That I get a custom cup of chai exactly how I want it. And that actually is how I discovered this progression of economic value a very long time ago now, where I recognize that customization shifts you up. Customization is basically the antidote to commoditization. Commoditization is like the law of gravity. If you do nothing, you will eventually be commoditized. But customization lifts you up, turns goods into services and services into experience. If you design a service that's so appropriate for this particular person, exactly the service that they need at this moment in time, well, you can't help but make them go, wow, and turn it into a memorable experience. Right, that's the key. So customization is one route up this progression of economic value. And the essence of mass customization. Mass customization is the title of my first book, in fact, where it's all about efficiently serving customers uniquely. You can customize them, but you want to do it efficiently. You want to do it at scale. You want to do it in high volume with low cost. And to do that, you need to recognize that you have a portfolio of customers where every one of them is individual. Every one of them deserves to get exactly what they want at a price they're willing to pay. And then you have a portfolio of capabilities. These are the things that you know how to do for customers. And the key to low cost, efficient, high volume customization is the modularity that you see there. When you think of modularity, think of Lego building bricks. What can you build with Legos? Anything you want. Right? Why? Because they have a large number of modules, different sizes, different shapes, different colors, and a simple and elegant linkage system for snapping them together. And that's what we need to do. We need to understand each individual customer needs and then snap together the capabilities like Lego building bricks of what they need to do only and exactly what each customer wants. It's not about being everything to everybody. That's a surefire way to increase your cost. It's about doing only and exactly what each individual customer wants, creating a customer unique experience chain. And that's true whether those are physical components there, that's true whether it's product information or whether it's product experience that you bring together to customize what people see on your online websites or in your physical places and the end product that they get. And to be able to do that well, you need a piece of technology in between that I call a design tool. A design tool is a way of helping customers figure out what it is that they want, because customers don't often know what they want. Even if they know, they can't always articulate it. But if you understand their individual needs, work with them on an individual basis, then you can draw that out of them. So rather than overwhelming them with with too much choice, right, which is the worst thing you can do, because fundamentally customers don't want choice, they just want exactly what they want. You draw it out of them and then get that information back into operations to do something different for each individual person. And I talked about Target earlier and the physical experiences that they have in their ateliers. Well, they also have a great website, a website where you can see their products on there, and they use product experience management so that architects, interior designers, and other B2B clients can go into plan and design mode. You see that up there at the top, and that gets them into a visualizer, right? This visualizer is their design tool, where consumers can then choose any surface in, say, a bathroom like here, and then change the flooring or the wall tiles to see how to see hundreds of different options, right, and see how they would look, right? That's what a design tool can do for you. And one more example, L'Oreal does it on an app on their phone with Makeup Genius. Makeup Genius actually uses the camera to look at your actual face and then let you design what, after they scan it, what that perfect makeup experience would be for you. And all the while they're remembering and learning from choices to get smarter and smarter, giving individualized recommendations to you. So this is why we need to go from PIM to PXM, from product information management to product experience management. Service information about your products does not cut it in today's experience economy. You must shift up the progression of economic value to stage engaging product experiences for each one of your individual customers. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Joe. It's always interesting to get your insights into this new reality that brands and sellers are facing. And I wanted to pick up on a couple of things that you mentioned and add some additional thoughts on how companies can use PIM to help differentiate their product offer to better deliver those experiences for their customers. So we talked about customer experience and how that's really what it's all about, really at the core. And talking to our customers, they tell us that making these experiences across the various touch points that they have is a really big undertaking for their marketing and merchandising teams, because there are so many channels, there's so many places where we can interact with buyers. And even buyers are shopping across borders in some cases, which means your product information needs to work within and be in context with those different markets. And as you pointed out, the whole experience economy really applies across both markets, both B2C and B2B. And it's easy to understand both perspectives because we're all individual consumers, as you mentioned, but even in B2B, it's a big deal because the digital natives are continuing to enter the workforce. And these people only ever grew up in an environment where commerce is conducted online as well as in person. And they're used to seeing these more emotional approaches. But the result is that because each sales channel behaves differently, companies can't just create one type of experience and expect it to work everywhere. They need to contextualize and take into account the rules for each channel. So you can't just take one experience and throw it out there everywhere and it's going to expect it to work. And at Akeneo, we think this is really important and that there's no way to deliver a really good customer experience unless you've got a compelling product experience. And this point of view is supported time and time again by what our customers tell us. I'd also read some research from Forrester last year in a survey about reasons that consumers purchase online. And as you might expect, the number one reason is price. But every other reason that people listed had to do with access to product information, product content. And I think it's natural that in both B2C and B2B, customers are going to seek to inform themselves before buying by accessing as much product information as they can, especially for those really expensive items. So product information is therefore the cornerstone of product experience. It's the lifeblood of product experience, and it's what you need in order to deliver that great customer experience. And so your product information needs to be accurate, needs to be of high quality, needs to be comprehensive, needs to be trusted, and it needs to be in context for each of the channels, each of the sales channels or customer touch points where you can interact with those potential customers. So I wanted to take a second to then look at what we're talking about in terms of product information in a little more detail. And really, we segment it into three types of product information. So the first is technical information. These are factual attributes and specifications about your product. So this will include information like how big it is, what its dimensions are, how much does it weigh, what's it made of, what color is it, and so forth. So on the center of the screen, the left-hand picture is a detailed list of technical specs, or at least the top half of that page, for a laptop computer. And you can scroll through that and see all these different things that might be interesting to you or not for that particular item. On the right side is an example of dimensions for a lift. One of these cherry pickers you can get in and get up to change a light bulb at the top of an atrium. Now they've already anticipated the context here and have included both metric and imperial units of measure on that one single product page. But these are all facts about the product. And there's typically inside an organization a gathering process of available technical information from a variety of sources. It might be from an ERP system, it might be from a supplier system. Maybe you go to a supplier to get information on those parts. But you need to collect all this information, put it in one place, and then publish that product page. But technical information really is the minimum amount of information that needs to be provided so that your customer can understand what it is that they're potentially purchasing. Second type of information is usage information. And this is information that helps buyers understand and visualize how a product is best used or what it's best suited for. So a simple example here from Aigle. Aigle is a French footwear brand, and they've got a specific product filtering option to help shoppers find footwear for specific activities. So this will limit down the scope of which products will be displayed based on what you're going to do, gardening, fishing, so forth. So if you're looking for gardening boots, you can find just the ones that are appropriate for that usage without having to sort through the fishing boots only to find out that that other activity wouldn't be a good option for that particular product. Now, the usage information is also important because it can have a close bearing on recommendations that you get for your product, which if you're shopping online is becoming a more increasingly interesting and part of the buying process. So if your usage matches your ideal customer profile, that recommendation becomes a key success factor for getting those good feedback. And the recommendations you see in the middle here from this product's Amazon page tell you how people are consuming Cheese Whiz, right? And getting positive feedback is, again, becoming important for people. But also this usage information can lead to increased sales all by itself. So one of the memories I recall from being in business school and a marketing class that I took was from an alumnus who came to visit us and spoke to us. And he had taken a job at Kraft Foods and was put in charge of the Cheese Whiz product, something that's been around for, I think, 100 years. And we all looked around at each other and thought, oh my gosh, what can this guy possibly do for something that's been available forever and inject life into that brand? Well, it turns out that Cheese Whiz melts really well. It doesn't separate. So he added a blue label or a blue spot on the top of the label you see in the picture on the left. It says microwave it for an instant cheese sauce. And when he did that, the sales of this product took off. He got promoted, and we as business school students all thought that was really cool. But the point is that usage information helped increase sales. And people could envision a way that they could use the product and then a new way to potentially benefit from it. And today, on the right-hand side, you see the label actually shows usage information in a couple of different forms. One is in the image on the right-hand side, and then in the labeling along the top of the lid. And then the ultimate level, level 3, the emotional information. And this gets at a lot of the things that Joe was talking about. But this is where you're creating that connection with your buyers and creating that feeling. So on the upper right-hand side, a B2C example from Kenzo. Kenzo is a French luxury brand. Their product page shows additional imagery that says, on the right-hand side, I'll translate it for you. It says, iridescent colors and urban style. Explore the galactic universe of Kenzo with this new limited edition jacket. And it shows the model floating in space because they know their buyers. So they're targeting the urban, fashion-conscious buyers by creating a feeling and a sense that you can wear this stylish jacket wherever you go as you explore the world. The B2B example from our customer SLV, Joe mentioned them earlier. They've got the product page, as you'd expect, for their lamp, supplemented by usage information, which is communicated via these high-quality photos in context, showing this lamp, installed. So you're also getting an emotional feeling from that because you're not just buying this lamp, but you're buying in and investing in the look and the ambiance that you can create on your property using their products. So why is this so important? It's because people buy based on emotion and they buy based on the subconscious. According to a study that was done at Harvard University, who found that 95% of the purchase decisions were taking place unconsciously. So you want to try and tap into that by creating something memorable. And I think that brings the experience economy concepts, specifically in the context of product experiences that appear everywhere buyers interact with different brands and different sellers. So as brands and manufacturers, distributors, retailers, what can we do to help create that emotion and create that experience, even for our online buyers? And how can we appeal to that inner psyche, both the conscious and the unconscious, if you will, to deliver that great product experience? So that's my question. I have a couple of ideas on how we might approach that. So the first is to know your customer. How well do you know what your buyers care about? Do you understand how they shop and how they buy? And the objective here is to try and offer a unique, personalized experience, just like in some of the examples that Joe discussed. For this company here, they're targeting an upscale clientele who wants that personalized experience that they can get in store with a personal shopper, but also they can interact with these people online. So the challenge here is to assemble the right information that your customers are likely to seek and then adapt that experience in your offer to help address and fulfill their desires. The second tip is to make sure you're using high quality digital assets, specifically images and videos. And Joe talked about this as well. And you know, the old adage, a picture says 1,000 words. So you want to invest in images that are going to speak and communicate those words and those thoughts to your customers. So on the left-hand side, we have a picture of a bedspread. On the left, you can see the color, you can see the texture, you've got some technical information about it. It's got a product name that communicates a little bit of you know, how it looks. But on the right side, I can see it in context. I can see what it will look like once it's in use. Now you can't tell from the image on the left, but you can. I'm sorry, on the right-hand side when it's deployed on the bed, if you will. You can't see the texture of the material very well, but so you really kind of do need both of these images in order to communicate everything you want about this product. On the right-hand side, this website, we're selling a bathtub. So how is it depicted? Well, it's in a scene, it's in a room. You can imagine yourself luxuriating in this tub, which is going to evoke some feeling in you. So not only is this a good approach to reinforce the usage information, but also to try and create that connection and stir that emotion in your customer. And this product page is also interesting because it includes information on the designer of the tub down at the bottom. And so you can read about who this person is, what their inspiration is, and so forth. And at Akeneo, we call this type of information a reference entity. So it's not exactly product information, but it's related to it and helps build a connection. And our solution helps manage that reference entity, that related information, alongside and in addition to your product information. Next idea is to share your brand values. And this could be a number of things. So a simple example, there's a lot of sensitivity these days about being green and being organic, being sustainable, being responsible, and so forth. So a couple of examples here from our customer on the left, Bergfreunde. They offer a search filter down the lower left. It's highlighted with a purple square that has various aspects of sustainability. So this information helps their buyers who care about this to only select products and filter products that contain those attributes. So that sustainability information is something that needs to be added to and managed on their product pages. In the middle section, this is from REI. They're a co-op. They specialize in outdoor equipment. They actually went against the whole Black Friday sales trend, and they closed their stores that day and told their customers to go outside. They created a hashtag called Opt Outside, tried to get people to go use the products, go out there and think about, you know, the benefit of being out in the wild and, as opposed to being in the stores, even though fundamentally they sell gear for outdoor activities. They also recognize that the products they sell aren't necessarily disposable, but they could be reused. They could appeal to people as secondhand items, which they also sell. So they're trying to be responsible and recognize the growing circular nature of commerce. And that's brand value at REI. On the right-hand side, Blush Cosmetics. Now, my daughter took me into their store once, and it was way different from any place that she had taken me to before. And they were all focused on communicating their brand and product values about having vegan products and ethical products, you know, not tested on animals, being handmade and so forth. And she cares about that stuff, and it's why she shops there. But they have that those values displayed front and center right on their homepage. And actually on this product page here for this soap, you can see the V logo and the packaging logo, the naked packaging that they do. And they've included that information right in their product page. So this is all information that needs to be managed at the item level, and again, can include those reference entities that I talked about, and about covering the information about the brand, the designer, their inspiration. So not typical product information, but relevant to creating and supporting that experience. Now, you may have a lot of information about a given product that you want to manage. So depending on your industry, more may be more, but less can also be more. So the tip here is to spend effort and resources on the important details. Invest in the important attributes and aspects of your products, the ones that'll make the difference, not only against your competitors, but also to your potential customers. And this can be very much in line with how you communicate your brand values. So for some products, especially highly technical ones like consumer electronics, appliances, industrial machinery, you do need and want to share dozens of technical product details. You want to have digital assets, things like material safety data sheets attached to products, and so on, because that's important to the buyers of these items. It's nicely coincides with the know your audience suggestion earlier. But maybe for other products, maybe it's more important to only focus on a few of the most important attributes so that customers can easily find and understand your product. Another way to think about this is to think about context. And I said at the beginning that there's no one experience that rules them all. And this means that the way you present data in a given sales channel will be different from in another. So a nice long emotive product description will work great in a print catalog or an e-commerce shop. But for a marketplace, maybe search keywords are the most important thing. In voice commerce, a short, succinct description will be preferable so it can be read back to you. And this can vary among the different products that we sell. So if you're a large retailer, you might have some products that require a deep list of technical attributes, but others that are more emotional in nature. So you need to think about what works at the product category level and be able to manage these different information requirements in a single place so that you can prepare your product catalog and prepare that and put that into context for every channel. So given the short time today, I only wanted to give a few practical tips, but I did want to leave you with this important one, and that is to recognize that it's not only about the one channel. Most of the companies that we work with have more than one way to interact with their customers. And from a product experience management point of view, you want to manage all that information in one central place and distribute it in context for the channel and the buyer expectations, but still understand and abide by the rules for each channel. An example there would be, to list your product in marketplaces, they have requirements for a minimum amount of information or certain types of information that needs to be displayed there that may not apply for your print catalog and for your own run e-commerce shop. So we call all of this product experience management. Joe talked about that as the what you do. But what you need is a set of features in your PXM platform, your product experience management platform, to enable your marketing, your merchandising, and your selling teams to make it all happen. And so the combination of tools that are fit for the job and for best practices, a few of which I've shared here, suggested here, if you've got the right tools and know how you want to approach it, you can then use the PXM platform to free up your teams from having to do all of the tedious, repetitive, time-consuming manual tasks that so many of us get bogged down in, so that you can spend time thinking about and writing those compelling descriptions and making those emotional connections with your customers. As you think about all the information we have to manage and deal with from all the different sources, putting it into context, that's a huge amount of work. And so any automation that can help you in that area is going to make your teams much more efficient and productive. And that's what our customers tell us. Our customers tell us that Akeneo has enabled them to realize some pretty significant business benefits that positively affect both the top line and the bottom line, as well as just made the entire product experience management process more efficient and more productive. And you can see here a couple of examples from some of our customers, both on the B2C side and the B2B side. So to conclude today's remarks, I just wanted to leave you with a few key points that I took away from the webcast in preparing this with Joe. And one is that, the experience economy is in full swing. It's real. It's impacting commerce in a myriad of ways that Joe really elegantly showed. I think that we can all understand and relate to. And delivering an experience is what buyers expect more and more, and adapted for each touch point, whether that's online or even in store. Or even if you sell online, you still may do some showrooming, like Joe talked about with Tarkett and others. So delivering that experience is what buyers expect. Compelling product information is the common thread in that experience that enables this sales growth and this bonding with customers. And we agree with Joe when he pointed out that PIM is what you do, PXM is how you achieve it at the core, that great product experience, and sets you up to do that. And we believe that PXM solutions can be a real accelerator and driver for that business value that you seek from your commerce initiatives. And PXM is playing an increasingly strategic role as companies seek to win in their markets. So I hope people have put in some questions while we've been chatting. If you haven't and you have some, now is a good time to do it. So we're going to take a look at those. While you're typing in your questions, I did want to suggest a couple of places you might go to get some additional information. One is by checking out our PXM for Dummies book, which is available on Akeneo.com. It gives a background on what product experience management is all about, refers back to the research that Joe did on the experience economy, but we try and cover what's required there, what it needs to bring, what it brings to your commerce initiatives. And so that's a really nice resource. It's a short read that can inspire you to do better with your product information and up-level your product information to more of a product experience. We also blog weekly on interesting topics in our industry, so you can check out our blog. Recently, we just posted one about using PIM to turn showrooms into success stories, so very timely. And we've written several articles that are relevant as well there, so check that out. Of course, if you are inspired and want to learn more and anxious to learn more about the capabilities of our solution, which are fairly deep, I briefly just talked about some of the categories about how they might help you. You can contact Akeneo at any time by email or via phone. Okay, let's take a look at the questions. It looks like we didn't get a lot of questions. The question one about, will this be recorded? Yes, it's being recorded. I think I mentioned that at the outset, but it will be recorded and made available for you. And we'll also follow up with an email after the event with a link to view the replay. Joe, any final thoughts or any comments on that you have that you maybe you want to underline on the part that I presented, or anything else that came up as we were chatting?
Yeah, I'll mention a few things. I love that you use the example of Lush. Because you say your daughter took you there, and if people have never experienced and never been in a store, they probably still smelled it. Because it's one of those places where you smell 50 to 100 feet before you ever get there.
Yeah.
And they do a great job there by engaging the five senses. If you go in there, they'll often take your hands. Like, how often does a retailer actually touch you? They take your hands and put them under the wash and throw in a bath bomb and get you to physically, tactilely feel what that's like. But if you go to the website, you could see that even with just the one image that you had, they do exactly what I was talking about evoking the senses on their website, because the photography is so well done that you can practically smell the product.
Yeah.
Just like you can physically. So I thought that's a great example. And I loved how you used the word scene too. You know, that when you get from going from technical information to usage information, then when you go from emotional information, scene is such a great word because scene is a theater term, right? And it's drama. And you can see, like, even with the photograph, right? You see there are things that have happened to create that. You know, like going preparing for a bath, for example, and what you did. You know, if there's a lighted candle, somebody lit that candle. There, you know, often they will have like the water being drawn right there, and that really sets a scene. You wonder, okay, what happened before this? What's going to happen after this? And it really is a great way of creating that emotional part of the experience that's part of PXM. And I love what you said at the beginning too about today's consumer has grown up with the ability to buy all this stuff online with doing it, but they've also grown up in the experience economy. People often talk about, there's studies out there that say that millennials are fueling the experience economy. Well, it's, you know, every generation wants the experience economy. Every person prefers experiences over things. Doesn't matter what generation you're in. But the difference is that millennials are the first generation to grow up in the experience economy. And particularly have access to all of, as they became adults, of all these digital tools that we can now use to drop into experiences at any time. So if you're targeted at, you know, at millennials or Generation X's or anybody after that, you know, that's where it is absolutely crucial, as you say, to think about the product experience that you stage versus simply the product information that you provide.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I've noticed that, you know, I remember another time my daughter was talking about someplace she went, and the first thing she said was, "Oh, what an experience." So I think you're right. I think people are totally attuned to that. And she didn't know that I was working on that stuff during my day job. So that was what was cool for me. Here's a question, Joe, that from somebody who says, this is all seem to be related to product marketing. How does this relate to marketing services? Do you have any thoughts on that
Yeah,
one?
you know, I think it's you know, much all the principles apply. The one service example I can think of that I talked about was the Geek Squad, of course, that is the functional service of installing and repairing computers, but then by working on the how, turn it into an engaging experience. You see many experience or excuse me, service companies that are creating the equivalent of the product showrooms that we talked about. My favorite is the Capital One cafes, originally ING Direct cafes, which are banks that opened up cafes where to get people to come in and actually talk to them, because nobody wants to go into a bank. They want to do it all online, right? It's as commoditized a service as there is. But now let's provide a reason for people to actually come in, spend time with us. And a cafe does that. In fact, I've long said the easiest way to get in the experience business is to open a cafe, because it engages all five senses and gets people to spend their time there.
Yeah, thanks. Here's another question. I think I'll probably answer this one. And the person says, it seems that the true customer experience needs to be immersive and interactive. So this is way beyond great contextual photo and images. What's Akeneo doing to accommodate this type of video slash game style immersive slash interactive
Great
offering?
question.
Yeah, so I guess from my point of view, what is Akeneo doing to help that? Well, our product is at its core, started as a product information management tool. It includes ways to manage basically all of the textual based information about your products coming from a variety of sources. It also supports the ability to manage digital assets, so images, videos, and things like that. Akeneo itself isn't where you're going to take the photos or record the videos. That stuff is all done by the studio team, but their output needs to be managed and brought along with all of the technical information and the usage information and the marketing descriptions that you create inside the Akeneo PXM solution. So it's important to be able to basically understand the requirements of where you're going to distribute and spread that information. Maybe you're selling on a marketplace, maybe you're putting it onto your own e-commerce site, maybe you're sending it to in-store associates, on an iPad that they use to interact with customers who come in the store. Whatever it happens to be, that information needs to be made available to those folks. And because it's so voluminous, or can be, And because it's different for every channel, that's a huge effort on your teams back at headquarters. And so one of the value propositions of Akeneo is that we help to automate a lot of those tedious processes, those repetitive processes, those things that potentially are opportunities to make typos and errors. We actually can help highlight those and catch those so that your product information is high quality and accurate and so forth. So a lot of the benefit comes from, at least on the internal side. I talked earlier about efficiency and productivity, and it's a way to help you basically control all of that and make sure that it's efficient and productive, so that you can spend the time on writing that luscious description of that that tub, and being able to gather quickly that reference information about the designer and his or her inspiration and include that. So that's where Akeneo can help facilitate the whole process of product experience management. Okay, I think do we have time for one more, Anna?
One.
Okay, here's a question, Joe. That's what do you think is the key for B2B customers that our industry is buying technical products based on performance, like oil and gas, investment banking, knowing that the person is potentially different from the buyer, the user is different from the buyer?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, the same principles apply, but you have to prove the performance aspects of it even more so than other things. Again, with this stack, you do have to show that the physical goods work and that they meet the technical performance specifications that you have before you can go on to be able to incorporate experience elements. But there are many companies in that business. I'm thinking of General Electric in particular, has these innovation centers around the world, in Saudi Arabia, in Asia, and so forth, in the US, where they do show off the technical specifications, the qualities. There have been companies that have done that, not just in physical showrooms, but online as well. And there's one that's in the back of my mind, but the name of it's not coming to the front. I know IBM has done things like that for its computers that show you how to create a smart city, and you can click on various elements of the city to learn more and so forth, gamifying it at least to a degree. And then the issue of different purchaser than a user and a buyer and so forth, is to recognize that that's where the context that John talked about is important. Is the context of this person and what they're looking for is different from that type of person, is different from that, and that's where you need to customize what you're doing to be able to fit the individual needs of each one of those markets actually within that individual customer.
Great. Well, we are at the top of the hour, a little bit past it, so we're a little bit over. So I'm going to say thank you to everybody who dialed in today. Thank you for sticking with us a little more than an hour. And Joe, thank you so much for your insight and for participating in our webcast today.
It's a pleasure, John.
All righty, until next time, thank you, everyone.